Thank you, Linda, for volunteering.
I'll try.
And our judge is Chris Cassell. Reading his bio, Chris has been photographing since the late 70s, and in those earlier years had a home darkroom and experimented with medium format and 4x5, as well as his standard 35mm film format. He's since gone all digital. His photographic interests have focused on landscape, abstract compositions, Photoshop montages, and photojournalism. He has a special fascination with the juxtaposition of human elements with those of nature. Chris is a past president of the Light and Shadow Camera Club of San Jose and is currently judge chair both for Light and Shadow and for the Los Gatos Saratoga Camera Club. He's been judging for camera clubs since 2011. In 2017, Chris became a photographer for Pro Bono Photo, through which he's provided free photo services to social justice and environmental organizations in the Bay Area since the first San Jose Women's March. Professionally, Chris is a PhD aerospace engineer, semi-retired, and an aspiring asteroid miner. I'm not sure what that is. And this is the first time to judge for us. So welcome, Chris.
Actually, it's not my first time. My records show. I think 2015 I did something maybe end of year.
Is that right? Okay. Yeah.
A little while ago then.
Welcome
Well,
back.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Welcome back.
That was online also.
Oh, no kidding. Interesting. Okay, let me get my screen sharing to work here. And we're ready to go.
Creative, Thursday, October 13, 2022. Basic, 4 images. Breath of life.
Okay. When I had first seen this, I liked it instinctively. There's kind of an unstructured aspect to it, and yet there's kind of a moody feeling with a lot of detail. I wasn't quite getting it, but when I looked at it again, I realized, and this plays in with the title, that we've got some sort of crocodile creature facing up and breathing out these flowers. So yeah, that makes more sense to me now. I was enjoying it before anyway, just from the patterns and you know, the interplay between dark areas and the lighter areas at top, and the textures throughout. But now that I see a little more of what's in there, I'm enjoying it more. Thank you.
Reflecting on the things we see.
Okay, this is creative. It's a unmanipulated sort of creative, I believe, but it's creative because it's giving us a perspective that we wouldn't normally see. The photographer is looking at a reflection, but also looking through the window. It appears to be a workplace, so we have a sense of busyness on different levels, and I think it works nicely there. Thank you. Let me ask how for pacing, how long is there a time I should be aiming to end or something like that?
Yeah, 60 seconds typically.
Okay.
The title will disappear after 60 seconds.
Okay, so that's my clue. Okay.
And can whoever is washing dishes please be muted?
I don't hear it.
Or gargling or whatever.
Some days are just more colorful than others.
Okay, this is a beautiful capture of the hummingbird. I like the sharpness in the eyes, I like the sharpness in the feathers, and just a little bit of motion blur in the wings, which we would normally expect in such photographs. Is it creative? I get the sense that you did something with the coloration, especially in the wings. I'm not quite sure. So, you know, I like this pictorially. It is, to me, maybe not so creative, but it's a good capture of the hummingbird. Yeah, if the only change to what you saw was like a little color variation in the, and you played with that in the title, so you're warning us, but you know, it doesn't work as well as some others for me, but it's a wonderful capture of the bird. Thank you.
Artichoke fly aglow.
Okay. Whatever you've done with this has served to sharpen just about every aspect that's important. Everything from the eyes to the little hairs and bristles coming off the legs and the thorax area and the wings. So yeah, great capture close up. And what you've done with it, you've shifted. I think you've done things with the texture and also some with the coloration, which I think makes it more menacing in appearance than it would likely was in its natural, the original capture. So in that way, I think you've used your adjustments to good effect to make this creative. Thank you.
Creative. Thursday, October 13th, 2022, intermediate, 3 images. Lost in water.
Okay, this is a dark, rather moody image. We have in the center this human subject who is looking towards us, and I can't be sure, and maybe that's part of the mystery, but I can't tell if he's part of this wall behind or is actually in front of it. He's a little out of focus. I don't think that really matters here. You've got this wall with the fish, and since the human is kind of up against that, maybe that's the aspect you asked us to focus on with the lost in water. Having the other office and desk around it gives kind of a it's moody, it's yeah, it adds a sense to the mystery and raises questions which I think work here. So I'm rather enjoying this. Thank you.
Dancing with the Dead.
Okay. I like the way, okay, the girl is facing away from us, but towards the wall with the paintings of the Day of the Dead skulls. So I you know, that very much fits the title, Day of the Dead. It is, you haven't manipulated it, so I'm looking for ways in which, as a unmanipulated image, it's creative. Possibly because you've, as the title suggests, she's dancing with the dead. She's focused on the wall there rather than on the towards the viewer. That and lends something of a creative aspect to it. So yeah, I think it can be viewed as creative, but yeah, it's a wonderful image in its own right, and I like the message you convey. I'm struggling a bit to find a role for it in creative, though. Thank you.
Street surfing, San Francisco.
Okay, this one has no problem. Yeah, 2050. Yeah, just around the corner here. Yeah, that may not be so creative in that time frame. But here in 2022, that's quite creative, and I like the way you've blended. You've done a good job of blending the water and the surfer with the cityscape here, and I think that works quite well. And so a good message and very creatively done. Thank you.
Creative, Thursday, October 13th, 2022, advanced 7 images. Floral, effigy.
Mhm. Lovely picture of the flower petal, a lot of texture, a lot of color, and there's kind of a sense of it's kind of animal-like. It's kind of like a reptile sticking out its tongue going to the right, and while it seems like a fairly unmanipulated image, I think that's the creative angle you were maybe going for. And I think it works that way. I enjoy it very much pictorially, love the textures and colors, and the way you've placed it in the frame works very nicely as a pictorial. And I think for me at least, the suggestion of this other life as it's kind of trying to be some sort of reptile sticking out its tongue is suggestive and makes it creative for me. Thank you.
Electroshock.
Yeah, and this guy does not look too happy. Whatever you've done here, you've painted his face. He may have had it on there. If so, that's fine. If you added the colors, then you did a good job. And then this rather frenetic pattern behind him, centered on his head, serves to convey the sense of this guy is in shock, and he's not too happy about it. We don't see his mouth, but we see enough to know that this is not something he likely intended, and you brought this across rather well. Thank you.
Good night, moon.
Yeah, I very much like this image pictorially and creatively. The juxtaposition between, I'm going to gather that might be a crow or a raven at the top just below the moon. Gives this, I think it conveys the message in your title. You could have cropped in closer and made the moon, raven, and the chimney with the roof there the center of the picture. It would be nicely composed as a vertical. However, I think you made a good choice here, giving us a little wider view with the other roofs and chimneys. It kind of gives this sense of space, this sense of maybe aloneness of the bird against the night sky, which I think helps and conveys the mood I think you were trying to convey. So I think that was well seen and nicely presented, and certainly quite creative in my view. Thank you.
Land of the Giants.
Okay, I really like this one because there is ambiguity in scale. As you suggest in your title, we're looking down at this human figure who is reaching up towards us. The plants by this person's feet, the suggestion is that maybe they're trees, and we're at one scale this is a river that this giant is next to. On the other hand, maybe these are those trees are actually the size of a large broccoli floret, and it's really more the human size, and either you've seen this somewhere on a sidewalk or you've created it yourself. It leaves an ambiguity, which I think is very nicely creative. I love basically I love the ambiguity in scale that you've given us, and I think you've done this very well. Thank you.
Nightlight.
Yeah, here I am enjoying the juxtaposition between the two main objects, what appears to be like a bolt sticking. This might be a railway setting with rail ties that the candle is on, but we have kind of, even though the two main objects here, the bolt sticking out of the wood on the left and the candle on the right, they're rather different, and yet there is some commonality in the patterns that surround them. The candle is forming its own pattern of rays, but there are also these patterns that surround the bolt there. Would it be stronger if you had a third object? We often find that compositions are stronger if there's like a third or an odd number generally of objects to kind of keep our eye in the frame. Here we do seem to ping pong a little bit between the two, but I think it's okay. I think the juxtaposition between the two main objects works very well. It's kind of dark and moody. You've given us great texture throughout, and so I find it very creative. Thank you.
Rest stop.
Okay. This would appear to be the photographer holding the candle while he is either holding up or holding on to a stop sign under very late day, perhaps, conditions with long shadows. So his shadow is going well into the frame. You have done kind of a lightning vignette all around. It's certainly creative. I like the pattern of the photographer and the stop sign. I'm not sure I'm actually enjoying it that much, or maybe I would with time, but I find it kind of jarring in a way that you might have intended, but I'm not sure that it quite works for me. Well composed though. I would certainly say that, because the human on the sign is going up towards this other street, which frames the top of the image. So I think compositionally it works quite well. Thank you.
Flamenco Pride.
Okay. A lot of motion in this picture, a lot of color, and you've captured that well. And you've done a good job, although this is a lot of blur in the motion, including the person's face. I see kind of multiple images there, but there is a primary focus there. The face is nice and sharp with the rest blurred, so I think it works nicely that way. And you've chosen a cropping of this which shows it off well, gives the sense of motion, and yet it's anchored in this person's face. So I think it conveys the message of the title well, and I think it's nicely presented. Thank you.
Creative, Thursday, October 13th, 2022, Masters, 1 image.
Okay. I
Desert,
like this. Yeah, sorry.
that's okay. Desert Trail, Anza-Borrego Desert.
Okay. And we do get a sense of a trail going through the image. I believe the photographer probably stood in the shadow of these rocks that are coming together. And so it is well composed. I like that. At first, when I saw it, I was thinking that the bottom, we could perhaps crop off about half of the image between the very bottom and where the rock on the right side starts. But then I realized that you are conveying a trail, and part of that trail is in the foreground, so maybe it's well to keep that. You have used essentially, I think, one maybe Photoshop filter to give a artistic effect, and as such, I don't find it all that creative. It's a nice effect, but I think you started with a strong image, and I'm not sure what you did with it adds too much to it. It's still creative in its own way, but I don't think strongly so, because yes, you've manipulated it, but not with more than, say, a single filter, which is, in my mind, and I think a little on the low side for creativity. It's, again, nicely seen and strongly composed, but I don't think that terribly creative. Thank you.
Travel, Thursday, October 13th, 2022, basic 2 images.
Okay.
Old mixes with new in this desert oasis landscape. Tingir, Morocco, in the foothills of the Atlas Mountains.
Okay, I find this to be a strong travel image, and I like that you gave us in the title, about old mixing with new. The new probably being the white tower, possibly a mosque in the center. Not quite sure on that, but that does anchor the picture and gives us the old versus new. The old being, more in the foreground, these old earthenwork structures with open windows, giving us a strong sense of place with the mountains in the background. And so I find this to be quite strong travel. You've given us a good sense of place here. Thank you.
Notre Dame de Reims. This 811-year-old high Gothic cathedral has been rebuilt 8 times since the 5th century. Today, a UNESCO World Heritage Site hosts 1 million visitors annually.
Okay. Yeah, great travel title. Told us a lot about the cathedral, and you present it. A lot of tourists here may or may not add to it, but you've given it a good go. And I like the way that we've got the sun in the image to the right, which is causing a flare. I think that's okay. It adds to the drama. And I like the fact that the right side with the flaring sun is quite different from the clouds on the left. It helps to break what is otherwise a rather symmetric image of the cathedral. So it adds a lot of interest. And I find this to be a reasonably interesting depiction of the cathedral. There is some keystone effect that generally doesn't bother me with architectural pictures. I think some people want you to straighten the image, and I don't find that really to be needed here. I think that too kind of adds a sense to the drama. Thank you.
Travel, Thursday, October 13th, 2022, intermediate 2 images.
Okay.
Modern Andean art, off-season shops near a tourist destination. Puente de Inca in historic Inca territory near the Andean summit on the road between Argentina and Chile.
Yeah, I love the juxtaposition between the artwork on the wall of the shop and the majestic mountains in the background. That really makes this as a travel image. You've given us a good travel title, tells us a lot about it. I like even that you have a place sign on the right. It helps to anchor where we're at within the image. If it weren't for the fact that you've already informed us that this is the off season, I'd be wanting to see, people shopping there. That's apparently not a possibility at this time. I'm glad you've got a dog there to give it a little bit of life. Yeah, I really enjoy this. The dynamic, colorful artwork against the majestic mountains in the background really make this a strong travel image. Thank you.
View from Muir and Roosevelt's campfire, circa 1903, Yosemite Valley, California.
Right. Yeah, a wonderful monochrome image. And of course, the most stunning part of it is the strong contrast between the white clouds in the sky and the what I believe to be the cathedral ledges forming the bulk of the image. So certainly gives us a good sense of place. Since you've told us that it is Roosevelt's campground, to me, this is a little more strong pictorially than as travel. As travel, I might, if it were possible, want to see if you had included more foreground, maybe a bit of, if there were a campground or at least a sign for it, indicating where Muir and Roosevelt had met, that would add to the travel story. This is a wonderful image pictorially, with embellishments like that that could be strong as travel as well. Thank you.
Travel, Thursday, October 13th, 2022, advanced 4 images. Grandeur. The Many Glacier Hotel is the largest and most spectacular lodge in Glacier National Park. Built by the Great Northern Railway in 2015. Step out any door and see breathtaking views.
Okay. Yeah, certainly gives a strong sense of the place. Love the way the hotel is set against the majestic background. I like the reflection of the mountain in the water. If it weren't for that reflection, I might be inclined to take away a bit of the water there, just from a pictorial sense. I was having a problem with, say, about 3 out of the 4 images in travel at this level, in that I thought they were kind of coming up to the line of having too much manipulation to be legitimate travel image. Here, it looks like you may have enhanced the color a bit, but maybe not. I couldn't really decide, and I decided in the end that it was natural enough that I not taking issue with that. But I see that you might have enhanced the colors in the back, in the rock walls and the green hills a bit. And such manipulations, if you take it too far, is really not legitimate in the travel category. But you were maybe getting close to the line, but I didn't feel it crossed it. And it's otherwise a very strong travel image. Thank you.
Saint Michael, the Archangel, highlighted by typical black and white stonework, presides over the central plaza of Punta Delgada, the capital of the Azores on Sao Paulo, Miguel Island.
Okay. Yeah, another one where it looks like you may have done some, say, HDR or enhanced clarity to bring out texture, maybe a little bit beyond what I would have experienced if I were standing there. But in the end, I decided that it didn't cross the line. And it's certainly a stunning image. You've taken this pattern of the stonework and worked it very well into your composition. The way these lead toward the statues from the various directions, and including this pool that leads to the statue. Love the sky. And the only thing that would have been nice, since the statue is a center of the picture, the head of the statue is up against the roof, the upper part of the building behind, and so we've kind of lost separation if you had changed your position, well, there'd be a risk because you've done a wonderful job of composing this, but if you changed your position, the head of the statue could have been either against the windows or could have been a little higher against the sky, and the statue as part of this image would have stood out more. But otherwise, it's a strong travel image, gives a good sense of place, and you did a wonderful job with the composition. Thank you.
The mirrored ceilings and glass walls of Amsterdam Centraal, North Holland, the Netherlands, give the impression of a crowded transit hub serving 1,902, wow, that's a lot, travelers daily. The effect mirrors reality.
Okay. Well, this is the one of the four in this category that I didn't feel was manipulated overly at all. And I do enjoy, yeah, this is a modern scene, and yet it's still a strong travel scene. I like the way that we do see the reflections of the people. We can see the people in the foreground and then see them up reflected in the ceiling. So it gives us, tells us about this place, something a little quirky and interesting about it. So I think it works well as travel. Thank you.
A quiet back canal in a residential area of Venice, a peaceful spot away from the crush of tourists in San Marco Plaza and the Grand Canal, Venice, Italy.
Okay. A wonderful image pictorially, exquisite composition. Love the way that the canal is flowing away from us and bending to the right, followed by the walls of the building, and the two people in this lend itself to that sense of flow. So in that way, it's a strong, tells a strong travel story. The title supports it. And yet this is the one of the four that I thought you went a little too far. I do get the sense that you did manipulations, which I think take it a little too far in my mind, away from the reality that travel is supposed to convey. I think I see that most in like the white shirt of the second boatman there, where it really doesn't look like I would see it if I were viewing directly, but also some of the patterns in the walls there. It's a lovely effect, very strong pictorially, but I think it kind of goes beyond what should be accepted for travel category. Thank you.
Travel, Thursday, October 13th, 2022, Masters 8 images. The Chicago skyline at Blue Hour draws photographers from all over the world.
Okay. A good sense of place. Yeah, you've given us a lot of interesting, first off, it's strong pictorially. I went to college in that town. I should remember the name of the tower, Sears Tower, yes. It's the Sears Tower is centered, but there's enough asymmetry around it that we have, it's not overly symmetric. I like the juxtaposition between the newer skyscrapers and the older church in the foreground. So this is a lovely depiction of the city. I think the city council would do well having this in their boardroom or something like that. I think that it's lovely in that way. Thank you.
Lake Bled in Sylvania is located 34 miles from the capital city of Ljubljana, a main attraction in a boat ride to Bled Island. There you can tour the pilgrimage church of the Assumption of Mary.
Yeah, this is very lovely. as travel and pictorially. The church is very centered, but you've broken the symmetry with the boat heading towards it, and the line in the lake in its wake really gives a lot of interest and leads us toward the pilgrimage church. Love the time of year. I'm guessing this is probably fall colors. It's lovely throughout, and you have, as you may have guessed so far, I'm kind of looking for over amounts of manipulation, but you haven't done that here in my view. You've kept it real, but very interesting and lovely, and speaks well as a travel image. Thank you.
The White House ruins in Canyon de Chelly, Arizona, is an 80-room, multi-storied complex built by the ancestral Pueblans about 1,000 years ago. The upper story provided sanctuary during enemy incursions.
Okay. Yeah, the title tells us a lot about the place, and we do get a good sense of place. Pictorially, it's very strong. It's a classic image. I think I've seen it photographed many times, but you've done a good job capturing it. It's very sharp throughout, lovely texture and lighting on it. And I like the contrast in color between the trees or shrubs in the foreground and the red of the rocks and the formations. I think it tells us enough. Well, the people who live there obviously are not there anymore, so I think it's probably is better without tourists hanging around it. And I don't know whether they're restricted from getting that close or not. Yeah, it's quite lovely, and both pictorially and as travel. Thank you.
Churchill, Nevada was built in 1860 to protect settlers from Indian attack and guard the Pony Express route. It was abandoned in 1869. The buildings are maintained in a state of arrested decay.
Okay, again, a good travel title, and with the image you have given us a strong sense of place, which conveys very well, I think, the story you're telling in the title. Pictorially, I don't think it's as strong as the last one we saw at Canyon de Chelly, and yet as a travel image, I find it to be stronger than the last one. I like the sense of isolation of this ruin out against the desert landscape, even to the extent that you captured it at a moment where you've got shadowing on the hills behind it. So there's this separation between the ruins and the hills in the background. I think it gives us a good sense of the isolation and enhances the sense of danger that was conveyed in the title that the Pony Express riders must have experienced in going through this vast landscape to these rather small oases of safety and security. So I think this works quite well as travel. Thank you.
Storm developing on the Serengeti,
Okay.
Tanzania.
Yeah. I like the lineup of the trees along the horizon, and of course the very dramatic storm clouds towards the right. Do we need as much of the foreground? Well, I'm speaking pictorially more now. I think we could take off a little bit of the foreground, and that would move the horizon line further away from the center. And given that there isn't that much of interest, that might strengthen it a bit pictorially, but the basic travel image is told here the way you've presented it. We've got this vast expanse of the Serengeti with weather happening at one end and waiting to happen at the other. So I think it conveys what you wanted to. We could have focused more. We could have cropped off like right around the storm clouds and the few trees there. But I think by including this vaster expanse of the trees, you give a sense of the openness and vastness of this location. Thank you.
Ibex dunes of Death Valley at sunrise.
Okay. Yeah, it's a lovely early morning photo. The foreground would not be terribly interesting if not for the fact that you've got the footprints going across them. Usually you try to avoid footprints in these sorts of images, but here it adds to it, and probably adds interest as a travel story because we can relate to the footprints there, kind of human scale, in what is otherwise a very nice landscape, but not so much telling a travel story. So I think the footsteps actually bring it more into the travel category than it would be if you if this were just a pure landscape. Thank you.
Participant in a 15-kilometer horse race in Mongolia, where the jockeys are children. Gobi Desert.
Whoops. Okay, I really like this one. Here, I think this is the only image within this series, or at this level, which actually has a person up close and really doing something and showing the culture of their land. So we do get a sense of life in Mongolia, and you know, we see the young boy participating in this. Would it be a little stronger if his competition were right behind? It would be maybe a little more interesting, but maybe he is so far ahead of his competition that they're nowhere close. And so you did well capturing him as you did. I like the way you got the horse mid-stride and kicking up some dust, and we do have a good sense of the vastness of this landscape. So I think this is quite wonderful, bringing human interest into the travel story. Thank you.
Mesquite Flat sand dunes of Death Valley at sunset.
Okay, and wonderful pictorial image, well composed. Love the textures in the ripples of the sand dunes, like the bit of moon that's showing up above. It's, to my view, maybe not as strong. It's stronger pictorially than it is as travel. Maybe I'm looking a little too much for the human element, because pure landscapes are legitimate travel images, but I tend to find if there is some human element, they tend to, for my eye at least, they're a little stronger. So wonderful pictorial image, maybe not as strong as the others, as some of the others as a travel image though. Thank you.
Okay, we'll take a 5-minute break and continue with the second two categories. So we just covered creative and travel. We'll next are photojournalism and pictorial and non-compete. 5-minute break. 7:21.
Do I need to pick up the pace a little bit?
Oh, I think you're fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So what is mining of asteroids?
Okay. A few years ago, I was a co-founder of a space startup company called Deep Space Industries. Our long-term goal was asteroid mining. we wanted to, this is part of the view which I subscribe to, that human civilization, if it's to survive much longer, has to expand into space, and part of that is using the resources that are out there, notably simple things like water, which are still very expensive to bring up from Earth, but are needed in space if you're going to live there as propellant and water to live. This company, we never got very big, and we had a short-term goal, business plan, which should have kept the lights on, but it didn't in the end. And so the company was bought out by another in 2018. So yes, I'm an aspiring asteroid miner because of that. I've been into notions of space resources for quite some time.
So the idea is to bring chunks of asteroids down to Earth?
Not so much to Earth, maybe some things eventually, but mostly what is needed to bootstrap a space economy are the simple resources, just water, rock materials, metals that would normally, that would be needed to build things in space.
Oh, I see.
We'd like to re-green the Earth by, I'd like to have our cake and eat it too. Like to continue having an industrial civilization while not trashing the Earth. And I and others see, moving industry to space suggests that we're actually physically going to take, industry on Earth and move it to space. That's probably not going to happen. It would grow in space from scratch, but using the resources that are already there. And energetically, they are easier to get to, even if they take some time because of the distance to some of these objects. The near Earth asteroids are the same population that do bad things like wipe out the dinosaurs, 66 million years ago. And NASA just had a test of the ability to nudge one a little bit in case such a thing were to happen again. But I think the existential threats to humanity are mostly self-made, and that the asteroids are actually offer more potential for our going forward than a threat.
That's right.
So
what was the conclusion of that? Of that nudging of the asteroid? Did they?
Oh, it looks like they were quite effective.
Oh,
They-
okay.
They
Cool.
published today, it was very effective. It worked.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
wonderful to, I imagine you were watching also with bated breath and then it went, the timeout, and then.
Yeah, I was watching that live as that happened. So
Yeah.
that was spectacular. Yeah, they
Did you-
chose a pair of asteroids that are orbiting each other. And so the intent was to change the orbit period of the smaller one relative to the bigger one by an amount that you could measure. And it looks like, they actually did it by like 30 minutes out of a 12-hour period. So that's actually pretty significant. So, and more than they apparently expected. So
did you have any goal or initial demonstration project that you were thinking of if you should have gotten your support for work in space? What would you have first?
We were planning to send a small spacecraft out to a near-Earth asteroid, rendezvous with it, and study the resources. Next step would be to bring something back into at least Earth orbit. And we hope to do it more cheaply than some of the other big NASA and Japanese programs have done, but we didn't get the chance. The thing that my company did get going, and I wasn't really a part of, was developing a propulsion system for small spacecraft that uses water. It electrically heated water. And since water is what we would like to pitch as being the propellant of the future, because you can get it from these extraterrestrial sources, then we'd like to develop a user base to make use of it, starting with the small spacecraft. And there were actually several of these units that were flown on spacecraft in space, apparently successfully, before our company fell onto hard financial times, and were bought out by another company that continued that line of thrusters, perhaps to this day. But
what's the distribution of water in space? I mean, you have it in mineral form. Do you have it in
ices bound in clay minerals? It depends on the type of asteroids. There are a large class of stony asteroids which would not have much water, but have other resources that are of interest. And then there are the carbonaceous types, which have organic minerals, which would, this is not really my area. My area is the orbital mechanics, figuring out which of these objects are accessible to spacecraft and how to get there. But the carbonaceous type asteroids have water-bearing minerals, and we don't know a lot for sure, but the suggestion is that's the case.
Interesting.
very interesting?
Journalism, Thursday, October 13, 2022, intermediate, 2 images. Bull's Revenge, bull riding competition in the Cottonwood Rodeo, Cottonwood, California, May 10th, 2014.
Okay, dramatic capture of the rider getting presumably thrown from the bull just happened, and the bull going after him. Good capture of this sports moment, supported by the title. I like that you included some of the crowd. You could have focused more on the rider and the bull themselves, and the other cowboy coming in, presumably to help that rider get away into safety. You included the bull's tail, which forced you to include the crowd. But I think I'm glad to see the crowd there. It gives me more of a sense of place, even though a lot of the spectators don't seem to be paying much attention. Nevertheless, enough are that it adds to the drama there. Thank you.
Fog creeps over hills near San Francisco Bay in sprawling fingers on a hot summer day. Heat rises in hot inland valleys, creating a vacuum that pulls in cold, foggy weather from the coast. Okay,
I love this image pictorially. It gives a strong sense of place. You've given us essentially a nature title, I think, more than a journalism title. I think with the same image, and in journalism, you'd maybe say something about how this weather characteristic tends to affect the lives of people who live there. The fact that people come to San Francisco expecting California to be hot, and they end up being very cold in San Francisco due to this sort of weather pattern. But it's still a lovely image. This was one where I was a little on the fence as to whether you might have manipulated it too much to be in journalism. The skyscrapers look like you've done something to it, but the rest of the image looked natural, so I decided that it didn't cross the line for me. And I like this image quite a bit. Thank you.
Journalism, Thursday, October 13th, 2022, advanced 5 images. A different wine country, one of 3. Pico Island, Azores, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, preserving a unique wine culture which evolved in a harsh, soilless volcanic environment starting in 1430 AD.
I'll
Two
let
of
you, yeah, read through the titles and then we
three.
can go back.
Okay. 2 of 3, vines were planted in cracks in the lava with a handful of soil. The roots then broke down the rock. Rock walls were built to protect them from wind and salt spray. 3 of 3, today a high quality wine is produced from these old vineyards. Fortunato Garcia of SAR Winery makes a natural wine with over 18% alcohol, unheard of elsewhere.
Okay. Okay, this sequence does tell a good journalism story supported by the titles, which is stronger and more complete than any one of them. Pictorially, there are some issues with the image, but pictorial qualities are second to the journalism story. So this is still a very strong journalism sequence. In particular, in this one, I don't know if well, the people in the lower right look very pixelated, or there's something going on with the pictorial quality which doesn't add to it. But again, because this is journalism and you're telling a strong story, it doesn't matter so much. In this first one, you've given us kind of the lay of the land. You've shown the terrain with the way they've divided up the volcanic rock in order to, it looks, you know, they've manipulated the rock areas to form the vineyard growing areas, and that's apparent here. So I like that overview. And then now going on to this, you've given us a little close up of what they've actually done with the plants, and how, you know, the vines are in a fairly tenuous situation, and yet they manage to survive and grow good wine. And you've described that very well here. And then going on to the third image, here's the final thing. It's could be anywhere in the world for all I know, and yet I believe that this vintner, I guess would be the term, is associated with these vines, and I believe that, and this is the logical conclusion, the wine that's actually produced and telling us something about it. So with this sequence, you've told me, you've educated me very well, and presented a very solid story. So I like that very much. Thank you.
Rebirth. Plant life flourishes after a forest fire. It cleans the forest floor of debris and kills diseases and insects like the pine bark beetle that prey on healthy trees. It builds healthy forests.
Okay, and here is one where if it were possible, a sequence would help if you could have shown us, you know, like this landscape before the fire, maybe during the fire, and now after with the rebirth. That I can understand that would be next to impossible, but you've done well telling us the story of the rebirth, and shown us the dead trees as well as the regrowing of it. This is perhaps more of a nature than a journalism image, and whether it was nature or journalism, it would help if you gave us the place. You've given us a strong title otherwise, but I am wanting to know the place. So yeah, it tells a good story, but a little bit of work could be done to make it stronger. Thank you.
Baptism, 1 of 2. While having lunch across the street from the beach, on the Isle of Wight, we noticed a group gathered on the beach. To our surprise, it turned out to be a baptism of a man and a woman. 2 of 2, a double baptism is quite rare. The sacrament of adult baptism varies in procedure between the different denominations, but full immersion symbolizes admission into the Christian faith.
Okay, this sequence, I think, is largely told by the second image where we're actually seeing the baptism. I'm not sure that this first image where we're seeing people kind of preparing, it gives you a little more space to tell us about what's going on. But I'm not sure that that tells the story, adds to the story very much. And I'm, while in the first image, you've told us something about the fact that you were having lunch across the street from this. Does that really add to the journalism story? Well, it adds a bit of interest, but I'm kind of on the fence whether it really adds to the journalism story you're trying to tell. And well, let's see, we especially in this one, we're not terribly close. We could have focused more perhaps on the people being baptized, the 2 people and the pastor. I presume that the crowd on the right might be congregants that are there to witness. The person wheeling the baby carriage on the left, unless you talk to something about it, really isn't adding to the story. And it would, if you had maybe captured this a moment before when he was more out of the picture, it would have been easier to crop him out. As it is, I kind of wish he wasn't there, and or if you had gotten in a little closer. Okay, thank you. It does tell a journalism story, but I think it could have been told in the one image. Thanks.
Flower Piano, 1 of 3. On September 20th, 2022, the Cottontails Band performed on the Great Meadow of the San Francisco Botanical Gardens as part of the Flower Piano Festival. 2 of 3, they performed jazz, swing, and R&B music from the 30s, 40s, and 50s. The audience loved the tunes. Some couldn't sit still. 3 of 3, and they danced their version of a Lindy Hop.
Okay, this is another where I'm not sure the sequence is adding too much. The band in each case is pretty much doing the same thing. The main thing that's different are the kids in the foreground. We're going from them seated here and not paying much attention to standing up and then finally dancing to it. So insofar as there's a journalism sequence, it's because of their transition from being not so interested to highly involved. And I guess as I look at it more, I can see that as being really what the sequence is about. But when I was viewing it earlier, I just didn't see that there was much of a sequence going on that told a journalism story that couldn't be told, say, by this third picture where the kids are actively involved, and then maybe you'd embellish on the title with some text from the other photos. So yeah, if the sequence is the kids increasing involvement, but you don't really, you kind of speak of it a little bit, but it's not really brought out much in the title. Okay, thank you.
Sand Carriers of Mandalay Bay, Myanmar, 1 of 4. Irrawaddy River sand is much prized by builders for its purity. Small boats ferry loads across the river where workers then move it up the hill. Sorry, 2 of 4. Using a bucket brigade system, the heavy basket is transferred from one worker to another, who then continues up the hill. 3 of 4. After a short distance, the load is again transferred to another worker. 404. The basket's final destination is here, where a tallyman sits atop a hill of sand, keeping track of the number of baskets delivered.
Okay, here we do get a strong sense of sequential activity, the passing of the basket, presumably very heavy basket, from one worker to another. Though I think we don't really get much of a sense of it going up a hill, or at least in the first 3 photos. Maybe if this progresses to other, if we had many more images in the sequence, we'd see other workers passing it further up the hill, but we're kind of dependent on the change in like blouse of the person's in here, like going to the second, we see the blue striped one passing to the person with the checkered shirt, and then the third one, they are obviously passing to a third person, and don't get the sense that they made much progress, and yet their their load is pretty darn heavy, so that's certainly understandable. Then the fourth one, the destination, if I were here, I think my job, I'd want to be the tallyman. That looks like the easy one. All he has to do is count. I remember the song about tally my banana. Here, this is much heavier. It would have been nice to somehow connect the first 3 with this final one, perhaps having a worker actually having a load for the tallyman to count. That would really have brought this last one in with the other 3. But you know, I get what's going on, and it certainly tells me a lot. It as a sequence, it does tell more than any one of them does alone. Just as a technical thing on this one in particular, we have a lot of blank sky, so some of the sensor dust is coming out and becoming visible, and that's quite easy to clone out without much effort, and that's perfectly legit in travel, and I think would strengthen it. So good story. Would be nice to have a little more connection between the early elements and this final one, though. Thanks.
Journalism, Thursday, October 13th, 2022. Masters, 2 images. Numerous fountains in the Chicago parks provide summer entertainment for kids of all ages.
I love the energy in this photo, the way the kids are really into it. They're each in their own little world going different directions, and yet they're connected by this flow of water. And I find that very appealing here. So a lot of dynamic energy going on, well expressed, well captured. Yeah, this is wonderful human interest, and you've given us enough information in the title to support that. Thank you.
In a completely legal maneuver, Hank Bailey, orange helmet, attempts to ride Leandro Flucari off the ball. Ferrari Cup, June 22nd, 2022, Santa Rosa.
Okay, good sports action moment. You've captured this moment where the one player is trying to nudge the other player away from the ball. I know I have known nothing about this sport, so I learned something from it. So well captured that way. I was confused a little at first by the multicolored helmets. I was wondering, okay, we've got an orange helmet and a blue helmet, but then what's these darker gray helmets? Was the guy on the left a referee or something? I then realized finally that I think we've got two teams and two members of each. We've got red jerseys and black jerseys, and they just happen to be wearing different colored helmets. And so happens that the helmet seems to be color coordinated with the socks or whatever you call it that the horses are wearing. So that's kind of a fun thing. But I was at least, you called attention to the fellow in the orange helmet, and I think you did what you had to there. But it took me a while before I realized that these were actually two teams and not God knows what. But wonderful sports action, well captured. Even have the, I think you've got the ball in the air, so that's always good in this sort of sport. Thank you.
Pictorial, Thursday, October 13th, 2022, basic 4 images. Breakfast made your way, an Indonesian fast food favorite.
Okay. With a little bit more cultural context, this could be a good travel image. As such, you've given it to us in pictorial, and it has some nice pictorial elements. It's sharp where it needs to be in the foreground container with whatever is in that container and the utensil, and going off to the other containers. The eggs are a little, especially the brown ones, are a little out of focus, but that's okay. So yeah, it's nice pictorial image, gives us a little bit about culture in Indonesia. Thank you.
Little bee in a big world.
Okay. Nice capture of the bee. I like the contrast between the very dark bee and the very high key flower that it's on. I think that works nicely here. The bee is not lost in the flower. We see it very well. So works pictorially. Sometimes when we have kind of a natural image, you know, by design, you know, an animal wants to camouflage itself so you can't really see them against their background, and you know, that's a survival characteristic. But it doesn't lend itself to pictorial qualities. Here, there's no trouble picking up the bee from the flower, and the bee is nicely in focus. The flowers are a little less so, but I think they don't have to be. They certainly support the image, and it's nicely composed. Thank you.
Mute swan taking flight.
Okay, nice capture of the bird, nice and sharp in the feathers and face. A little motion blur in the wings, which is good, gives the sense of motion. If the swan is mute, I'm not sure if that's just because it has its mouth closed at the moment. Otherwise, I'm not sure what that point is about. Yeah, nice capture of the bird. The way you've got the foliage, the rather brightly colored yellow orangish foliage kind of right behind the bird, looking kind of like it's got a mane of orange hair or something. So might have been a little nicer if you'd managed to capture it a split second later, where we didn't have to do that mental gymnastics to separate the bird from the background, but still a lovely capture of the bird. Thank you.
The bolt that lit up the night sky.
Yeah, a wonderful capture of the moment. The way the lightning arcs across the frame, and the composition is anchored by the windmill in the center. It's really a very strong image, and we see little hints of the rain, the structure in the rain, and a little bit of landscape in the background, just kind of shadowed. There's a little, well, it might just be the zoom or the online compression here. I do see a little bit of banding in there, which overall doesn't bother me too much. And but if it were part of the original image, it'd be nice to, if you could smooth that out somehow. but it doesn't strongly detract from this. And I just love the texture of the clouds in the upper right and the way the arc of lightning is going away from that and going through the image, and the windmill is small in there, and yet it gives it, despite the image being so dark, you've given us a strong sense of place with that. So I love this. Thank you.
Pictorial, Thursday, October 13th, 2022, intermediate 4 images. Enjoying an ice cream and catching some air.
Yeah, took me a moment, but I did see the ice cream, presumably a popsicle that he's holding. Nice and sharp capture of the rider there. The way you've presented it, it would not be suitable for journalism because you've obviously done things to the background to streak that out and give us a kind of a sense of motion, which works very nicely pictorially, and you've done a good job on that and made a rather good separation of the rider from that background. I can see, you know, besides adding to the drama, well, you've got like a person in the background kind of walking away, so he's not really adding to it, but you know, by blurring him out this way and streaking him and the other people there, I think that adds a lot. Yeah, so the sharpness of the rider juxtaposed with the sense of motion in the background, I think works very well pictorially here. Thank you.
Remembering those in another world.
Okay, I like the way space is divided here. The girl's face is coming out from this, presumably a shawl that she's wearing, but the way you've cropped this, you've essentially divided space between the predominant red on the right through which we are viewing her face and the yellow on the left. You may have blurred out whatever was there. If so, you did that to good effect. And her face popping out like that from the shawl without other distracting features really enhances this a lot. It is sharp enough. I think it is quite sharp in her right eye. It falls off a little bit in sharpness in other parts of her face, but I think that's okay. And I like the way that the streak of makeup to suggest the on her right cheek, which adds to the skull effect, the way that blends in with the shawl. So this is a wonderful image. Her jewelry, the gold, might be an earring on the left side, kind of helps hold the composition too and makes it more interesting. Thank you. Wonderful image.
Preserved history. Hunters' petroglyphs in the remote Mongolian Altai are among the oldest, 11,000 to 6,000 BC, best preserved rock art in Northern Asia, and are a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Okay. I think what you've given us here is a very strong travel image. It certainly has a travel title, and you've given us a strong sense of place and give us information about the petroglyphs and given us the setting in which they are seen. You have, however, entered it in pictorial, and I think it's not as strong there. If as a pictorial, I would probably want to move in closer to the pictographs. Of course, this is somebody else's art, somebody long dead, of course, but still somebody else's art. So there's always the challenge of making that your own in the photograph. But I see enough interest in the rock itself, the fractures in the rock and the way that moss or lichen has grown between it, that you could make a fairly abstract composition that would be very strong pictorially, and yeah, quite interesting, and your own, and not just a picture of somebody else's artwork from eons ago. But as presented, both the image and the title, you've given us more of a travel image, I believe, than a pictorial one. So if it's possible to enter it in travel, I think it would do well there. Thank you.
Cowgirl cool.
Okay. Yeah, I had a hard time deciding whether it helps or hurts the fact that her hat is lowered enough that we can't see her eyes. It does add, I guess, a sense of the coolness that you're trying to convey in the title, but you know, it doesn't lend, it doesn't bring me into the image that much. It does give a sense of, yes, she is a cowgirl and she's doing something probably at some rodeo, but I don't get a strong pictorial sense that I can relate to. There's also a bit of color balance issue here. It looks like the image overall is cast a little bit towards, probably towards the red, and you know, the main way I know that is that the one thing in the image that I believe should be white should be the white stripes and the American flags and flag, and that comes across as having a bit of a reddish tinge. So I'd say watch your, especially when you have something in the image that really should be a particular color, you want to watch the color balance there. And I don't think having the having it cast towards the red the way it is really adds to this. But it gives it's a nice image of the girl, and reasonably well composed with my caveats. Thank you.
Pictorial, Thursday, October 13, 2022, advanced 8 images. Early morning at Mono Lake.
Yeah, I love the sense of serenity here, the stillness, and the way that you've captured very nice colors in the early morning sky while still giving us a full range of textures and detail within the tufa. Nicely composed. Yeah, this is a very wonderful image. Strong sense of place, also strong pictorially, well executed and presented. Thank you.
So what's your silent friend? Who's your silent friend?
Who's your silent friend? Yeah, a fun image with the kids, very high key one. I think you've taken what they were probably doing this against a rather light background, and you've taken that background and pretty much whited it out. That's I think that pretty much works because it doesn't, the background does not detract from the interaction between the kids. Overall, it seems a little bright to me, though, even with that. I think bringing it down some, but you know, you got a good pose, a nice funny title to go with it. So it's a fun image. Thank you.
Fairyland.
Yeah, strong image. This would have been a good entry in creative as well. I love the way you've got this rather busy bush or shrubbery in the lower right part of the image, and it kind of juxtaposes with the isolated fairy in the upper left. I think I'm seeing various fairies or butterflies or something intermixed with within the foliage there, but I really like the way that you separated this one larger fairy or dragonfly or whatever it is to the upper left. A lot of energy here. There's an interaction between that fairy in the upper left and the rest of it. It's not passive. It's a very dynamic image, and I think you presented it very well and very creatively. Thank you.
Raging surf.
Okay, with a little bit more of a title telling us something about a place, I think this could be a good travel image. As pictorial, it works. You've certainly captured a good moment with the wave crashing against the rock formation, even showing some of the birds that may be disturbed by the wave. Yeah, you could, as a pictorial, have focused more on the wave itself and that the rock formation it's crashing against, as well as the other rock in the lower right. There are the other rocks in the surf which also add interest. So I don't, doing what I just said is one possibility, but I think you gave us something with a good bit of interest, and you certainly captured the moment quite nicely. Thank you.
Serenity. When the light is just right, it casts a spell of solitude over the forest.
Yeah, here there might be a bit of a yellow cast, but for this, it works. It may be natural lighting, and it certainly comes across as being natural. I do like the sense of the lighting, which you speak to in the title. So there is this solitude that you speak of. I could just see standing there for a long time and enjoying the scene, and maybe not hearing a whole lot, maybe hearing a few birds or other animals, but not much else. As a composition, it's maybe a little busy with all the trees. There is that central stump with the tree that's cut off and going off at ground level to the right. It's kind of trying to be a central point of the composition, but it doesn't quite make it. So having a tree or something that was a little more dominant and held the composition, I think would work. Otherwise, the trees are very nice, but they're sort of a pattern without much to hold my eye in one place. So moving to a slightly different location with the same lighting might have worked, or moving in a little closer to that one stump, possibly. I'm not sure. That's my only quibble with this. It's a lovely scene. Thank you.
Environmental abstract, number 42.
Yeah, and I certainly can't tell whether you have changed the colors on. I suspect you have changed the colors. I have a hard time imagining a natural scene that has this palette and range of colors. I very much enjoy it. If you did manipulate it, and it's totally legit in Pictorial, and whatever you did, I think you did a very good job. It doesn't look artificial. If I didn't know enough to doubt the naturalness, I'd just take it on face value that it was a totally natural scene. I suspect you've altered the colors, but you've done it seamlessly. It is a pattern shot, but you've given us enough centers. There are these three areas that are primarily orange that I think serve to center our sense of composition, and so that works nicely in an image that otherwise doesn't have a whole lot to center us on one point or another in the image. So nicely done. Thank you.
Homage to Georgia O'Keeffe.
Yes, indeed. Wonderful image. I like the way you've got this big mass of the flower center at the top. It's much darker than the rest, but not so dark. We can see detail throughout, and very enjoyable detail. And then we go down to the flower petals on the lower and left part. I don't know if you lit them from the back or if that's natural lighting, but that works very well to bring out all the colors and textures there. And it's wonderfully composed, and it's just a splendid image, and I would say very much an homage to Georgia O'Keeffe. Works very well. Thank you.
Visual echoes. The sail of a Japanese man of war reflects again in the blue Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah. At first, it wouldn't seem like there was much going on in this image as compared to some of the others. We've got the one man of war and its reflection, but you've done that very nicely. It's sharp throughout. You've given us a lot of space around the Japanese man of war, but the kind of abstract patterns in the waves there, I think, serve very nicely to focus our attention on the man of war. Gives us maybe a little sense that we should keep a little distance from this object. And it's just very lovely the way you've given us colors and sharpness in the man of war, and the reflection is just about as sharp and colorful. So works extremely well for an otherwise very simple image. Thank you.
Pictorial, Thursday, October 13th, 2022, Masters 7 images. On the road to Old Plantation in Georgia.
Okay, I love the way that this image gives us a sense of the wetness and coolness, which was obviously there. We see it in the roadway, we see the water splashing in the roadway, but also the moss on the trees looks very wet. So there's this overall sense of the environment, and the composition is stunning. You've got this roadway leading off into the distance, and the trees form this canopy around it, which works very well. There is not much going on in the foreground. We've got this rather well mowed grassy area. It's possible that you might have taken, say, from the bottom to about halfway to the first tree on the right, and taken off a little bit of the area, which doesn't add much to it, because I certainly wouldn't want to take away anything from anything anywhere else in this. It's a splendid image. Thank you.
Ashes in the Wind.
Okay, and another very splendid image in my mind, though very different in so many ways than the last one. This one conveys the opposite of the last one, a very dry, rather foreboding and perhaps hot environment. You've given us this mysterious, the dead trees in the foreground are kind of framing the rest of the image, this desolate landscape, which is partially hidden to us by the ashes that you speak of in the title. The trees are very strong in their silhouette, and the rest of the image is very subdued and yet majestic. I have a hard time telling if you might have taken a second image and montaged it with the image of the trees. If so, then you did a wonderful job of blending them, or it may be as you saw them, and in which case you captured it wonderfully. This is so close to monochrome already that you might consider bringing it the rest of the way to full monochrome. I think that would add some possibilities, but it's certainly wonderfully shown the way it is here. Thank you.
Walking by on a rainy day.
Okay, a fun image. And one thing that I'm enjoying here is the way the polka dots on the ladies' galoshes seem to be mimicked by the leaves on the pavement. So there's kind of this connection between her boots. If they were just plain black boots, I don't think it would be nearly as interesting, but because you've got kind of fall colors going on that kind of suggest leaves right in her boots, and then you've got the fall foliage on the ground. I think that lends a lot of interest. I'm glad that there's this grow work there. It adds a compositional element to what would otherwise be a little bit static. So yeah, a fun image, nicely seen and presented. Thank you.
Late summer bloom.
Okay. I love there's a kind of a sensuous quality to it, the way the flower petals flow throughout and the way they're surrounded by the green leaves in the background. I like seeing the details in the background. They're a little out of focus in the background, but for that that's perfectly fine. And I like the way that you have contained the flowers of the bloom within the frame. The fact that you're cutting off two of them at the top doesn't matter. You've contained the other ones very well around it. The one thing that does bother me with this, for something of this sort, I think it should be a little sharper, especially in the center. I get a sense of softness that doesn't really help this image, but otherwise it's splendidly seen and presented the way it is for the reasons I've given. Thank you.
Wendover Hall in the Milwaukee Art Museum boasts a 90-foot ceiling and is used for exhibition openings, weddings, art fairs, and other special events. It is located on the shore of Lake Michigan.
Okay, I'm liking the way that you've given us this rather detailed but symmetric view, and yet the symmetry is broken just a little bit by the woman in the foreground, who is just off center to the left. If it weren't for that, it would be just about totally symmetric and not as interesting. She's small in the image, yet the way she breaks the symmetry brings her front and center for us. Since this is such a symmetric piece of architecture, I find myself a little bothered that there is a little cant to the right of the vertical structure. I pretty much expect that this was quite vertical, and I think working a little more with tilt, it just seems a little off. I get the sense that you were very careful about the framing and tried to control this as much as possible to keep the symmetry, and yet it's so symmetric that this little bit of canting to the right kind of becomes bothersome, but otherwise a very strong image. And I think a good choice as a monochrome, which of course could be in the monochrome category, but is legitimate and pictorial as well. Thank you.
Hen and chicks, succulent.
Yeah, very symmetric around the center of this succulent, and yet there's enough breaking of the symmetry around it that it becomes quite interesting. And I like the way that there's detail seen throughout, including in the dark areas surrounding this this flower. It looks a little, well, you've done something with it to I don't know, sort of posterize it. I think it overall works with it, but I'd be interested in seeing a little more natural presentation, and maybe not taking it quite so far in the direction you have with whatever adjustment you made, because it's otherwise I love the range of colors and the compositions here, and I'm not sure that whatever you've done in this other adjustment, which kind of brings out sort of a blocky characteristic to it, is helping much here. That may have been your intent, but I'm not sure that it quite works for what is otherwise a very strong image. Thank you.
And Trechet.
Yeah. And I had to look that up. It's a ballet term about, you know, multiple foot, you know, an intricate foot play in ballet, and I think you've captured that. Yeah, wonderful capturing of the motion, freezing of the motion to the extent that we've got the tail feathers nicely splayed, but we see all sorts of detail in those feathers, in the feet, and the wings, and the body. Good control of exposure. It's a rather light bird, and yet you haven't blown out the highlights in the face or the wings pretty much anywhere. So wonderful control of that. And I do like the way that you included a little bit of foliage off to the right. It helps hold the composition. It gives a sense of something that the bird is maybe flying towards to build a nest. So it adds to a potential bit of story there, more interesting than if that piece of sky were just blank. So yeah, wonderfully captured. Thank you. Okay.
Non-compete, Thursday, October 13, 2022, 6 images.
Okay.
One of these things is not like the others.
Yeah.
What a run, Bangkok.
Okay. Yeah, and which could that be? Yeah, we've got these figures in the upper part, and we've got the woman there in what looks like a reddish shirt. I'm glad she has a little bit of color that's a little different from the white, because that helps her stand out and make her the thing that is not like the other. Kind of wish that other woman were not in the frame, but at least she has a white shirt on, so she's not detracting too much from that, from our attention to the one woman who is facing towards us. So you've told a story here, you know, and pointed our attention to it. I see that the center of the image is lighter than either the top or bottom. I can't tell whether you purposely darken the top and bottom portions rather selectively, or if it actually appeared that way. But if so, I think it actually helps. It focuses, you know, it extends the pattern of the overall structure here, but helps focus our attention towards the center where the main action is going on between the human-like figures above the woman and the woman herself. So yeah, very, very nicely done. Thank you.
The Many Faces of Jeff.
Okay. a funny image, sort of like the images you'd get from one of those arcade photo booths, except much better image quality, but still the same sort of faces that people often present there, kind of a mix between, well, I don't know that there's a totally serious one there. It's a fun array of images. Yeah, so it's nice. Yeah, it's a nice juxtaposition, and I like the kind of the channeling of an arcade picture, though obviously with much higher image quality. Thank you.
A trio of pears.
Okay. With whatever, yeah, I like the way you've got the two pairs on the left leaning to the right, and then the one on the right leaning to the left. I think that it makes it much more interesting than if they were all leaning one way or the other, or were straight up, or something else. So I think that works nicely. You've given it an effect which essentially posterizes it. I think it brings out, which is probably your intended effect, some of the modeling in the pear, in the skin of the pear, maybe brings out some of the colors, maybe enhances some of the water drops, especially on the center one. But it also flattens the pears. I kind of feel like I'd like to have a sense of the pears as being round and luscious, something I'd like to, pick up and eat. And the way you've presented it here, they do not invite me to pick them up and eat them. There's kind of a two-dimensionality. You've done a good job at what you've done, but I might choose to do something different. But okay, thank you.
Mirror, mirror, Angkor Wat, Cambodia.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a funny image with the monkey looking in the mirror. I'm having a hard time kind of figuring out the mirrored image, because I see a monkey's eye kind of reflected there and his nose, and yet it doesn't seem to be a reflection of the monkey itself, who has his face kind of plastered against it. So I'm a little confused by that. Maybe there's another monkey I'm not seeing. I'm not sure. The other mirror to the lower left, I think works well. It's reflecting up, so it's showing us a bit of the forest canopy above, which is also suggested by the piece of foliage that's coming down from the top towards the left. So you could have chosen to crop in a little more on the monkey and maybe the center part of the motorcycle, but I kind of enjoy it the way you've presented it. Yeah, just some elements that confuse me, and I can't see it up close enough to really figure it out. So, but it's a fun image. Thank you.
You're in my lane.
Yeah, and we definitely have 3 lanes going on here between the swimmers in the foreground, and I'm glad that they have brightly colored, whatever things over their heads to make them stand out more. Then, of course, the sailboat, and then we've got this very ethereal cargo ship in the background. We can actually barely see it, but I think that lends a sense of danger. You don't want to mess with that big mist shrouded ship. Say that 5 times fast. Yeah, so I like you've captured a moment where you've given us these 3 lanes. I'm glad you've got all 3 there. Could you have taken off a bit of the top because the blank top of the sky isn't doing much? Perhaps, but I think it actually is okay. it gives a sense of the mystery of this ship that is almost invisible to us. So I think that works okay. Yeah, as I look at it, they're, maybe taking off a bit of the top and maybe taking off a little bit of the bottom might enhance the sense of, making it a little more panoramic that way might enhance the sense of there being lanes. But that's a minor tweak. You've certainly successfully captured the moment here. Thank you.
And they call this progress? Talat Noi Bangkok?
Yeah, kind of a cacophony of technological elements kind of thrown together, and yet there is a strong sense of composition here. We've got the what might be a satellite dish towards the bottom, but it's working well. I see three elements: the satellite dish at the bottom. I see that what might be a wooden window towards the upper left. Yeah, it's kind of a window shutter because I see the open grilled window, but it's the window, the wood window shutter itself, which is a strong compositional element. And then we've got that big architectural thing, part of the building, apparently in the process of being constructed, forming three strong compositional elements which really hold this together. And then we're left to, with those anchoring the composition, we're left to kind of circle around and enjoy the different bits of composition, the kind of what might be decaying concrete on the left-hand side lower, and then the striations in the metal right behind the satellite dish. All sorts of stuff going on, which without these strong compositional elements would be just very busy, but with the composition being held so strongly, we are able to enjoy them more, and I think that makes this a very strong image. One point though, I see somebody's name there. If this were in a competition, that would be a no-no, because that identifies the maker. Here, it's okay, but beware otherwise. Thank you.
Okay. Take another 5-minute break. And then Steve, you'll come back with the winners. I think that's a yes.
Yes.
Chris, thanks for your judging.
With my mouth full, but you're welcome.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had chicken earlier in the evening.
Mhm. Well, 6:30 is a little on the early side for my regular dinner, so I just make do.
Joel, I wanted to ask you, what's with your background? Where's that from?
It's I want to say Diego Rivera.
Okay, I recognize the name.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's got a lot of just different types of paintings. And this and a couple others I found on the internet are about people, sort of large crowds or people. Anyways, but that's what this is.
Oh,
Yeah.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. I keep looking at it.
Yeah, I've got one about, I'll try and put it up next time, of a picture of a square, people in a square that he did. And there really are a lot of different types in this square. It's somewhere in Mexico, but it's very interesting. Yeah, he's a talent. He really is.
Yeah, there's so many little things going on there. You kind of want to dig into it and look at it and see the people or what the scene is, what's going about. It looks like you got temples back there, Incan temples or something.
Yeah, which
Uh,
makes me think this is Mexico City.
Oh, okay. Never
Yeah.
been there, but that's, yeah, very interesting. That's a nice, that's fun background.
And I think there's an exhibition going on, I think in San Francisco. But I gotta admit, my brain hears things and it may not be true.
And I said Incan, it wouldn't be Incan. Yeah, I forget.
Mayan.
Mayan, there you go.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
Yeah, Mayan.
Incan is
Yeah.
further south.
Right, yeah.
Yes,
That'd be
Chichen
Peru
Itza
with
is
the
Inca,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah. Anyway, that's fun. Thanks.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed you, Gary.
Oh, yeah, I missed you too. I didn't, I look, oh, man, look at that guy with a big camera there. And all of a sudden I go, hey, that's Laura.
Yeah, it took me a second. I don't do very well when I see people out of context.
Oh, huh. Yeah. Oh, that we were down at shooting the Blue Angels
Huh?
from the Marin side. And, we got some real good shots. Laura got some really nice ones. She posted and it was fun, but we kept losing them behind the fog because between the Marin side and you go out a ways there and you had a band of fog coming in the Golden Gate and you couldn't really see the city. It came in and out and I had a hard time getting the ships. I found that in post-processing, I could bring the ships out a little bit better because you could barely see them with the.
What time did they come in?
Pardon me?
When did they come in?
They came in at 11.
Oh,
And
okay.
so, yeah, I had somebody next to us. He was telling us about when stuff was going. Well, apparently they had it live on one of the radio stations in the city, telling him when things were going on. And he had like an air thing that he had in for this radio, but he kept telling us what was going on next. But there were quite a bit of aircraft, and I think you had one of the United was one of the sponsors, and they kept flying around. And
Yeah.
They flew the same plane twice. It was weird.
What's that?
I said they flew that same plane twice, once in the
Yeah.
morning and once in the afternoon.
Yeah.
At least
I
on
think
Friday.
they were getting their money's worth for promoting it.
I guess so.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a fun show. It was nice.
What day were you there?
Friday.
Yeah. We lucked out, I guess, because the weather was best, I think, on Friday.
Yeah, and then on Sunday, they just canceled all the way around. So
Yeah.
I guess, but yeah, I had some fun shots I posted on Facebook, and Laura had some really nice ones that she posted. And,
I got some good videos just following, I was using my iPhone when I did the videos, and that United 777, I think it was.
yeah.
The video, because I've got clear blue sky, you can't really tell. And so suddenly I have this thing going up, doing a loop. It's just me turning the camera.
It was fun trying to follow the Blue Angels because I was shooting with a 200-500, and with a DX that makes it a 300-750. So I had it all the way out, and I'm sitting there, up behind my head. It went right overhead.
Yeah, exactly.
But, for a minute, they kind of disappeared in the frame, but I just kept shooting. And then when I got enough away, that I got some nice shots that way. But it's fun. It's real fun to go out and do that, and then visit with people, and met some real nice people there. Chatted with, and
yeah,
good time.
Okay, we set to go on to the awards.
Yep.
One moment. And let me try hiding a screen here that my other one's not showing. The best laid plans of mice and men. Let one moment. Too many windows. Come on. Voila. Okay. Voila.
Okay.
Okay, Creative Basic, 3 images. Third place. Come on. Mark.
Bug man.
Mark, you here still?
He's there.
Mm-hmm.
Is he muted?
Can't tell. I can't even see him.
Let's just go.
Oh, there he is. Yeah,
There.
you're muted, Mark.
He's muted.
There he is.
Thanks. Thanks. That's better, huh? This is a rare, not rare. It's a non-native species of fly called an artichoke fly that ended up here in the U.S. And as the name implies, they're on artichokes. So I just did a little bit of work with it. So, yeah.
Nice.
Thank you. And I learned a lot. Thanks again.
Congratulations. Second place. Elizabeth.
Is she here this evening? I didn't see her.
I didn't see her.
Here.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
It's
She's
not
not
here.
here.
Too many voices.
Not
Not-
here.
Not here?
Not here.
Up here.
Congratulations, Elizabeth. First place. Amy.
I didn't see her either.
It's not here.
Congratulations to Amy. Creative Intermediate, 3 images. Third place. Ellen.
Thank you. Yeah, I wondered about putting this in creative, but I have so many images where I get the back of the person's head and throw them away. I figured in this one it made sense. So
I love this.
Yeah.
I think the being from the back is so cool, so creative. And
thank you.
the movement and the title, it's really cool.
Colors.
Yeah, I love the colors.
Yeah, if the wall of skulls weren't there, it wouldn't have worked so well, her facing away, but since it's there, it works.
Mhm.
And the simplicity in her dress of that purple counteracting the complexity of the skull faces, the skulls, is great.
Mhm. Yeah.
Congratulations. Second place. Joel.
Yeah, this is Napa, the night that we did the light show over there. But I like taking pictures, reflections in windows, trying to get something out. And this had an interesting inside, a lot of glass, and people walk by, and I just shoot, see what I can get. Thank you, Chris.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. First place. Laura.
Laura.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm still kind of navigating the waters of creative and composites, and so yeah, I was just giving this a shot, and thank you.
Really well done.
So it worked well.
Very cool.
Nice,
Yeah.
Laura.
Very cool.
Well integrated.
job, Laura.
And I used to work in that building, One Market. So,
Oh, did you?
yes, that's my office.
Bet you
Congratulations.
didn't,
Or your boots.
bet you didn't see surfers.
Not from that window.
Yeah.
I had a boat
Oh,
in
yeah,
the
maybe
road.
other windows.
I had a boat in there too, but I decided to take it out.
Yeah, no, it's better.
Very nice. Creative Advanced, 4 images, honorable mention. Phil.
Oh, yeah. It's a picture of my son-in-law. I just blended it with, you know, another image I created a couple of years ago, and just thought it looked like he was being electrocuted, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Fabulous.
exactly.
Have you shown it to him?
Yes. I think I sent it to him in black and white, so I gotta send him this one.
Very cool.
So was his face painted like that, or did you add those effects?
It's part of the overlaid, there's several layers creating the busy background, and one of the layers had those colors in it, and I let it bleed through into his face.
Okay.
I like the eyes.
It's pretty convincing. You know, it does look like his face is actually painted.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was the difference mode, but
It might be, I don't remember which one I used.
Congratulations. 3rd place. Ronnie.
Beautiful.
Thank you. So this is Sandwich, England, from the window of our Airbnb, which I made a composite with an image of the moon that I had, but I enhanced the color, but this is basically, you know, what I saw from my window.
Very pretty.
Thank you.
yeah.
Cool.
So thank you.
Congratulations.
I could see it as a cover. I could see it as a cover in a book.
Yeah.
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 I wanted to call it a spooky night in Sandwich, but
Congratulations.
Thank you.
2nd place. Phil.
Oh yeah, I took this in Bodie, and you know, I was kind of a close-up of a wall and some stairs, and I just liked the texture and the bolt. And then just for fun, I added in the candle on the step. But yeah, I just made it a lot more textured than the original.
very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had a sense it was a kind of a railroad thing, but I can see that as stairs now.
Congratulations. 1st place. Steve.
Thank you. Yeah, this is a drone image done some years back, minus Tamara, my current girlfriend. And the Tamara image is one, she was on her way out to work. And I said, wait, I'm thinking about doing this image. So I had her put her stuff down and just reach up about 3 or 4 times. I ran over there with a ladder and stood on top of it, half asleep in the early morning light. That's when the drone shot was taken, was early morning light. I was trying to get the light matched as close as I could. So anyway, it was a very hurriedly done image of her combined with one that never seemed to go over well, that I always really liked that drone image. That's the center, that's the Laguna, you know, Laguna over by Occidental Road in that area. And it's a lot going on in the image. If you look closely with the original image, it's pretty, I think it's pretty
cool.
Okay.
Anyway, glad
so those are
thanks.
Nicely
those are
done.
those are trees. Then
They are.
looking down from that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. You really couldn't tell the scale on that.
Yeah, on the top of the blue water area, that's fog. So it's morning fog over the water with, you know, trees and all that green next to the water. It has kind of a yellow tinge to it. All those little dark areas are all, interestingly enough, those are from frogs, and they create little openings for themselves. So that's all little individual frog, well, territory, if you will.
Interesting.
So I learned later after taking the shot, somebody said, "Oh, I know what that is." Oh, cool. Didn't have any idea.
You could write a book about everything in this image.
Yeah, there's a bunch there. Thanks.
A lot of fun.
Nice image.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Creative Masters, 1 image. And
Nancy,
She's not here, but I know she works on her iPhone, and as much as it could have been done possibly with a one filter touch, she usually does like a dozen things, you know, from app to app. But you know, you don't know that.
Right.
a nice painterly look. I
Yeah.
love it. Congratulations, Ann.
congratulations to Ann.
Nice.
Journalism, intermediate, there were no basic journalism. 2 images, 2nd place. Laura.
Nice.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm still learning all these different categories. So I didn't think you could put that kind of, I wouldn't have thought that would go into nature. So I appreciate the input. Now I know. So thank you.
Yeah. Nice. Really like it.
Congratulations. 1st place. Pat.
Ah,
Great image.
Yep, really nice.
Good action.
yeah, absolutely.
Congratulations to Pat. Journalism Advanced, 3 images. 3rd place. Linda.
Oh, yeah, thank you. This was in Glacier National Park.
Okay.
Yeah, 2015 fire.
Oh,
And I took the picture in 2016.
Wow.
You're later on.
Okay. It would have helped to add a little bit of that to the title. if you
Yeah,
could.
yeah, that was good comments on that. Could be. I have all kinds of pictures of the fire.
Nice.
Thank you.
congratulations. 2nd place. Bill.
No, he's not here.
And I just remembered to add that, showed the exit. A little slow tonight. Good shots by Bill.
Yes, very.
And 1st place.
Oh.
Jennifer.
All right, Jennifer.
Nice.
I don't think she's here tonight either.
No,
No,
she's out of
she's
town.
traveling.
He's in Maine. I
Also
think.
traveling.
Yep.
Always
Two
travel.
more travel shots.
Congratulations to Jennifer. Journalism Masters, 2 images. 2nd place. Bill.
Oh, thank you. And thanks for the comments about the helmets and the confusion on which team was which. I think I could have improved the title to include that. Actually, they all wear their own personal helmets. They wear different jerseys depending on which team they're on.
Yeah, I kind of inferred that eventually.
Yes, I appreciate the comments.
Now we know.
Congratulations. 1st place.
Cool.
Tony.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, nice, Tony.
Tony's not here.
Not here, I don't think.
I would not have guessed that.
It's a great shot.
Yeah.
I know, I wouldn't have guessed it either.
Really, really great
Right.
shot.
Yeah.
Except that it's in Chicago.
Chicago. Chicago or North Dakota.
Yep.
Congratulations to Tony. Pictorial Basic, 3 images. 3rd place. Mark.
Pretty.
Gotta find that mute button. everyone here knows I like wild bees, and this was so small on this flower. I like the scale of the bee to the both the petals and the stamens. So it's just enormous compared to the bee. So thank you.
Great shot, Mark.
Yeah.
Looks like he's sitting down for breakfast there.
Yeah, munching away. Yeah.
Nice.
Congratulations. Second place. Mark again.
Hi there. Just one clarification. The name of the swan is a mute swan. So,
Okay. So that's the species.
and just little thing on swans, there's 3 that you can find in the US. The mute swan is from Europe, non-native, and then there are trumpeter swans, which you've probably heard about, that are rare, and then tundra swans. So if you go off in the Central Valley, some of you have probably seen all the tundra swans over there. So these hang around in local parks and lakes, but it's rare. I've never seen one flying. They just happen to be in the right place at the right time.
Sure were. Yeah.
More
Nice
like
catch.
heard the tundra swans.
Oh, they come here periodically. I've seen them. So
Yeah,
thank
I
you
guess
again.
I could have looked that up, but I just took mute to be an adjective.
No, I like that. Yeah. they don't they don't say
talk.
much either. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably how they got the name. All right.
You misspelled taking with talking.
Actually, they're an invasive species.
Oh,
That's true. Yeah, they take the place of others. So
especially when they poop on your deck.
Congratulations. First
Thank you.
place. Amy.
Yeah.
Wow.
I really like that. Very nice.
Amazing, amazing
capture.
image.
Amazing lightning shot.
Boy,
That
Yeah, it's
great
cool.
place at the right time.
where the lightning is coming out, it's like it just opened up
Yeah,
Right.
the
Looks
light.
like that.
so cool.
Really
Perfect.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh.
Beautiful.
Stunning. Good job, Amy. Let me tell you, I love it.
And the windmill. Windmill's great.
Oh yeah.
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 This photo amazes me so much because the lightning starts at the ground, not the cloud.
Mhm.
So where has it pulled up from?
I don't know.
It could be cloud to cloud.
Yeah.
It could be, or it could be that center crux to the right of the windmill. But it could be cloud to cloud.
Now, the
Heavy
comment-
rain, Andrew?
The comment about the banding, something to observe on this. Shots like this can bring it out. You might not see it in lighter shots, but when you've got subtle color shifts, it could be the way the rain is going and reflecting lightning, or it could be it's an 8-bit picture as opposed to 16-bit.
Mm-hmm.
When you do 16-bit, you don't get the color banding.
Right.
So when you're editing your images, sometimes you move it from one piece of software to another. Be careful, because sometimes some software will only accept 8-bit. And so even if you're sending it 16 bits, it may convert it to 8 bits. And then when you adjust it, it brings out the banding.
Mhm.
Anyway,
And then Zoom may not be doing it justice either.
Yeah. Thank you for that explanation. I've heard that before. Yeah, I've seen it in my work and I was curious why.
it's the weakest link. If any step along the way is 8-bit, it'll down convert. Congratulations to Amy. Pictorial intermediate, 3 images, 3rd place. Joel.
Nice, Joel.
Yeah, this was at one of these polo matches that Bill took us to. But this woman, I didn't get her eyes on purpose, because this woman had a gesture whenever you took her picture, and when she was standing or sitting around on the horse and people were taking pictures of her. She had this huge hat, and she's got to be about 5'3", and she would just tip her head down so you couldn't see the eyes, and that was her move. It was real funny and real cute. But I thank you for about the white on the flag, because you're right. So, so anyways, thank you.
Sure.
Can I make a comment on the eyes and her tipping her head down? Where she looks, the horse will look. So you'll see cowgirls not look at you very intentionally.
Mm.
Good to
Okay.
know.
Yeah,
Very interesting, sir, because I,
get on a horse and look over at the wheelbarrow, and the horse will have a complete fit because there's a wheelbarrow. So they're not vain, they're not ignoring you, they're holding their cool for the horse.
oh, I didn't think she was vain. She was
Well,
the whole troop was good,
yeah,
but she was one of the leaders on the troop, and she was just lights out.
yeah, yeah.
She really was
She's
good.
super focused.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Second place, Laura.
Thank you. I was down at the Mill Valley Carnival. There wasn't, I don't know, it was hard to shoot the people on the rides, but I saw this kid on the skateboard and thought I'd see what I could get. So I was kind of, and then it was, the background was distracting. So I did play around in Photoshop and blurred out the background with some motion.
Yeah, which,
Love it.
yeah,
Good
adds
job.
nicely to the sense of motion. And
I
I
love
see
that
you
it's got the
used a
bottom
very
of
fast
color.
shutter speed.
Yeah. I usually shoot birds, and half the time I'm shooting faster than I should be. So
I like the dove bar
Very
whenever
nice.
he's got his hands.
Congratulations. First place, Ellen.
Oh, I love this, Ellen.
Beautiful.
Great.
bright
Thank
color.
you.
Colors, yeah.
It's
So,
lovely.
being in the right place at the right time. I follow this group, and this was a cloudy day. So I'm going to go out more on cloudy days because I photographed the same group the next day when it was sunny, and I didn't get anything like this.
Yeah.
That yellow, it's a sculpture behind her, and I had it. It was blurred in the background, but it worked out nicely because otherwise there were just people behind her.
Beautiful shot.
Beautiful.
Very cool.
Great, great shot.
That's nice colors, yeah.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Pictorial Advanced, 4 images, honorable mention. Bob.
Thank you. This was taken some years ago at Mandalay Lake. And I just happened to be at this spot as the sun was filling the sky and got this shot. The only real manipulation was, besides filling, getting some of the shadows in more detail, was the topmost point of the tufa reflection actually touched the rock on the shore and bridged it. And I just opened that little space up to keep the reflection intact.
Separated,
in the water.
okay. Yeah, one thing I
Made
had
a lot of
forgotten to,
difference.
yeah, I had forgotten to comment on was, the fact that the reflection of the tallest tufa was separated from the foreground, which was good, but it sounds like you did that.
Yeah, that's how it happened.
Okay,
Right.
Beautiful.
well, it's very convincing.
Thank
and it
you.
works.
Congratulations. Third place, Jennifer.
Beautiful.
Congratulations,
Very
Jennifer.
cool.
Beautiful.
Pretty cool. Not a Portuguese
Like
man
a
of war. I
commercial shot. It's so good.
think it's a Portuguese man of war, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but
Yes, it's a Portuguese, right?
Ah.
Honey.
Congratulations to Jennifer. Second place, Phil.
Oh, cool. Yeah, this was actually multiple pictures of my neighbor's yard. He had a tree that he had lights in,
Uh-huh.
I took it, several times, in various lighting conditions and blended the two images together. So you can see the dark foreground and the shadow of the background mountain. They're actually the same image. And then I took my my grandson's kite and put it up in the corner.
Oh, okay.
That's actually a kite.
Oh, gosh.
Wow.
Comes across well as a fairy.
It does.
Yeah. Nicely done. Great.
Yeah,
Well done.
Nice work.
wouldn't have thought that was a kite.
No,
In
never.
the in the UK, aren't they called fairy lights too?
Jeez, I don't know. It sounded good.
Congratulations. First
Yeah.
place. Ronnie.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
Oh, thank you. Well, this is a surprise. Yeah, so I had a bunch of sunflowers, and I really like, they're the ones that they dye, but I love the colors. And yeah, so a part of it wasn't working, so I cropped that out, and this is the result.
I
Nice.
love it.
great.
Very,
Oh,
Very
really
nice.
nice, Ronnie.
very
Did-
big, very big
Wow,
on a wall. Very big on your wall.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
How
yeah,
did
great colors.
how did you light it?
Yeah.
What was the lighting?
It was natural light.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Backlight?
Backlit though.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, it was in a vase on my kitchen table.
Oh,
Yeah, really pretty.
Yeah, I didn't even do anything fancy to it. I didn't have a background or anything. So,
Didn't need it.
yeah, thank you. Thanks a
Or
lot.
very small and intimate, either really huge or really small and just
Yeah.
above the desk.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Congratulations. Pictorial Masters, 4 images, honorable mention. Mike.
I thought that was Mike.
That's a cool shot.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Really
Very-
cool.
Let's see. It's
Very-
using a 16mm lens, so I'm wondering if some of that slight tilt to the right between the light and being such wide angle might it, because if you look at the line just to the right of the woman in the center, it looks vertical, whereas when you go above, it seems to tilt slightly to the right.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's hard to
Hard.
tell. And yeah, when you're as symmetric as that, I think little things kind of become more visible. Because, looking all around the image, it looks like it was carefully composed to be as symmetric as possible.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't bother me. It's great.
congratulations to Mike.
Very nice.
Third place, Bill.
Oh. Thank you.
Very cool.
Having a nesting site practically downtown Santa Rosa is pretty amazing. So you can stand there all day and get all these shots of these birds in all different positions. And this one is one of my favorite.
So where did you get that word from, Bill?
Yeah, really. And I had to read it.
I looked up ballet leaps, and the one I had in mind was the one where the woman or man jump straight up with their legs together and then kind of move their feet back and forth.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so that turns out to be called that.
I don't know what that's called either.
Yeah, I Googled
now
that
you know.
and then I Googled it and then it made sense.
Yeah.
Yes,
En croissant.
Yeah,
Right.
made us think.
it's French, entrechamp.
Of course.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Second place, Herb.
Mm.
Mm.
Nice. Or
A great
Shot.
shot. Straight
Yeah, I
shot.
love that.
Cool.
Beautiful.
Wonder how he
Yeah.
I
did
didn't
that.
even realize those were mountains until I
Yeah.
looked at it closer.
I know,
Give
it
me a
looks like
second.
that's blowing through the sky.
Yeah.
Where was this?
It looks to me like it's near the Alabama hills.
No, it could
Really?
be. Yeah, could be.
Hmm,
Very cool shot.
yeah. I was
Have to ask him.
speculating in my comments whether this was, like a single image or possibly montaged. I wish you were here to ask.
Yeah, I wish he were.
I do too.
He's at
Congratulations.
Yosemite.
Congratulations to Herb. First place,
Well done.
Tony.
I love this one too.
Yeah,
Right,
that's
Tony.
Nice.
beautiful.
I actually guessed that it was Tony.
It's so
Yeah.
lush.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so nice to see
Stunning.
green. All the brown we have around here.
Been a while.
Yeah,
Amazing, the branches on those trees
yeah, they are amazing.
and the water on the road makes a big difference, really helps. Very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Good job, Tony.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Congratulations to Tony. Travel Basic, 2 images, second place. Elizabeth.
Oh,
Here.
Elizabeth.
Is that spectral in the lens, the beam on the right? I'm not used to seeing it curve outwards as opposed to inwards. So it's
There's another one that matches it on the bottom left.
so this may be
I know.
interesting.
Oh, it's flare. In the information, it's talking about, I guess, being equivalent to 14 millimeter, which is
Yeah.
relatively wide. Maybe that's
Yeah,
because of fairly wide angle. Maybe.
interesting effect.
I mean, it
there.
adds some drama to it. I'm
Yeah.
not bothered by it.
Congratulations to Elizabeth. First place. Amy.
Mm.
She got 3 firsts.
Hat trick.
She's on her way.
Congratulations, Amy.
Congratulations to Amy. Travel intermediate, 2 images, second place. Joel.
All right, Joel.
Surprised, Chris, thanks. And you're right. I just should have put in Cathedral Falls. Yeah, it would just made it better. But thank you very much.
Yeah, it's a
Or
wonderful
monochrome.
image as it is, but yeah. I don't know if there was any campfire left over from that era that you could have included to complement the travel title you gave it.
I did find some small round glasses, but I lost them somewhere.
Roosevelt lost him, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Chris, thank you.
Yeah.
Are those the cathedral rocks?
I believe they are.
Yeah.
So we're looking at the
Yeah,
lower
and-
and middle cathedral.
And you see the waterfall?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be Bridal Veil.
Yeah. And I just should have said whatever it was, but I was just really sort of overwhelmed by Muir and Roosevelt camp there. Yeah, that really amazed me, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
Congratulations. First place. Pat.
Yeah.
Wonder what the altitude was.
Yeah, I don't know.
Looks like it's around 9,000, 10,000, maybe higher.
Probably higher.
It's above tree line.
Probably higher. I lived in Bolivia for 4 years. So it's probably like
14.
maybe 12 or 13.
Congratulations to Pat. Travel Advanced, 3 images, 3rd place. Tricia,
All right. This was a
Great
great
job.
trip to Amsterdam, and I just absolutely loved this transit hub. I took probably 50 pictures of this, and thank you very much, Chris.
Cool place.
I love this. It's very
It's really
cool.
wonderful.
Yeah, great.
I wouldn't
color.
want to get lost there, though.
I don't know, people can be nice.
Don't look up.
congratulations. 2nd place. Jennifer,
Love
Nice.
the angle on that shot.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
congratulations to Jennifer. 1st place. Linda,
Oh,
Mm.
good.
I love this.
Gosh. Oh, that's my favorite place, Many Glacier Hotel. And it just looks like that. It's just beautiful after it's rained and the fog. A little bit of boosting, but not a whole lot.
Okay.
It did just a teensy bit, but I was told to do that
Yeah.
by Tony.
Well, things
Thank
like
you.
travel, journalism, and nature, you have to be careful about that sort of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really
Pictorial,
good to know.
totally fine.
I appreciate you mentioning that. But you should see the redos
Congratulations.
on it. If you haven't been there in a few years, they put back the original staircase. The circular staircase, which is gorgeous. Yeah.
Hmm.
Thank you.
like other of these national park hotels, does it have a gorgeous interior?
Oh, yes. I have lots of interior pictures.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Travel Masters, 4 images, honorable mention.
My gosh.
Herb,
I love this.
Oh, yeah.
the light on this capturing the striations in the upper right corner, the angle of the light, it's marvelous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Congratulations to Herb. 3rd place, Mike.
Nice.
More good lighting.
Yeah.
Well, as I said in my comments, I thought the last one was probably stronger pictorially, but this was, I thought, more successful as a travel image.
Mhm.
Little things.
Yeah.
2nd place, Mike again.
No, I love this
Oh,
one.
beauty.
Yeah, I knew that. I knew that was Mike.
Pretty colors on that one.
Yeah.
Amazing how the buildings stick out, just the color in the hillside. The two.
Just jumps out of the picture.
That wake is such a perfect
Yeah.
accent.
Yeah.
Yeah, the wake. It's all about the wake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
So
not a
wavy-
straight wake. It has
waving
that
in.
subtle
Amazing.
At the S curve.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
It
great.
curves like the hill.
Photographed lakes in the world.
congratulations to Mike.
Beautiful.
1st place, Bill.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Like the tongue hanging out. He
Universal.
looks so happy.
He's happy and balanced.
Yeah. Here I come,
Thank you.
Mom.
Congratulations.
And just out of curiosity, were other riders like near him, or was he kind of out front? Or
They were strung out quite a bit. Actually, he was
Ah.
about 15th.
oh,
He
okay.
looked great.
Still having
Oh,
a good
wow.
time.
There were others, but it was the expression he had. I
Yeah.
took a lot of different shots, but they were strung out quite a bit. 15-kilometer
Mhm.
race.
Well done.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Very nice.
And the audience favorite as well as the judges.
That's right.
That's Ronnie.
Another
Wow.
best in show, Ronnie.
Yeah.
Right, Ronnie.
Hey, Ronnie.
These
Great.
flowers are
Great
killers.
shot.
Wow, that is a shocker.
Good job.
Should
Really
be.
good.
Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
Georgia O'Keeffe.
Chris,
Chris,
thank
thank you
you.
very much.
Thank you very
Very
much.
nice. Did a Great job.
Very
Yes.
good.
Thank
good.
you.
Good to see everybody.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks,
See you
Chris.
next week, everybody.
See you soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.